I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. Senator Chuck Grassley ripped what he described as a shocking leak of a Supreme Court opinion. The leaked potential 5-4 decision could overturn Roe v. Wade. Grassley emphasized that this was just a draft and, quote, "We shouldn't reward this leak by speculating about it." Listen in for more from the Iowa Republican.
Well, first of all, this draft was February the 10th, and if that was the final draft, I think that decision would have been issued. So it's just a draft. We don't know what the final draft is, and yet we're getting the cart ahead of the horse. Another thing, I've heard people say that that these candidates lied to us. I don't know what you do when you question Supreme Court justices, but I'm looking at, are they for the original intent of the Constitution? Are they going to interpret laws the way Congress passed them, or if there's some sort of vacuum in the law, are they going to fill that in? Or are they going to let Congress do its work to change the law? And then another thing about holding a vacancy on the Supreme Court open for a presidential election, we've debated that many times, and I'm not going to repeat that argument. But if you think that on February the 10th of 2016, we knew that Trump was going to be president of the United States, that's a ridiculous sort of assumption. At 10 o'clock election night, 2016. I couldn't believe that Trump was going to be elected president, but he was elected president. So think that there's a scheme here that was thought out on February the 10th, 2016, that we were going to know that we were going to be able to put 3 justices on the Supreme Court is a ridiculous argument. Then also, getting back to what I said about the way I see in questioning judges and whether somebody lied or not, I could say to Gorsuch on the McGurk case, that's a ridiculous, nobody got that opinion in interviewing you here, that you go that far to say that half of Oklahoma, that the state couldn't prosecute Native Americans. I disagree with him on that opinion. Kavanaugh made some decision here within the last 2 or 3 years that I disagree with, but what's that got to do with what they told us here at this hearing? Or if you're talking about precedent can't ever be changed, it's ridiculous to think that we would say today that separate but equal is a legitimate way to treat people in public schools. No, Brown overruled that, and everybody's thankful that Brown overruled it. So we don't even know what this decision is. Now, those are some of the off-the-cuff remarks I want to make, but I want to also follow up on the same subject. On Monday evening, we saw a shocking leak from the Supreme Court. That was a monumental, historic breach of trust. A number of Democrats and their allies in the media have tried to focus on the substance of this leaked 3-month-old draft. Before everyone sets their hair on fire, there are a few reasons that make little sense. First, it is a draft, not a final decision. There will be time to discuss the actual decision in the case when that case is issued, or that decision is issued. We shouldn't reward this leak by speculating about it. Second, the person who violated the court's tradition of confidentiality chose to leak the draft. The draft is nearly 3 months old. We don't know what changes might have been made. But we have 3 Republican senators that have been clerks in courts, and they've very carefully told us how many times these things change from day to day or week to week in this whole process of writing a final determination. Third, what we do know right now is that this leak happened. I don't know why some on the left want to lionize the leaker. This was a very dishonorable act. We should all be willing to say that it was a dishonorable act. It risks hurting important values and credibility at the court. The justices must be able to discuss cases without worrying that a member of the court family would run to the press seemingly in an attempt to influence an outcome. The Chief Justice has announced that the marshal of the court will investigate the leak. We all ought to look forward to learning the results of that investigation. Sadly, we're already seeing the predictable result of this disgraceful leak. We've seen the far left dark money groups calling for court packing, and we've seen the public pressure campaign to influence the court. A liberal activist group even went so far as to organize a walk-by of a justice's home. Disgraceful. This seems to be nothing more than an appalling attempt to intimidate the justices. Appropriately, the Chief Justice announced, these are his words, that the work of the court will not be affected in any way. We should also remember the numerous dedicated employees who work at the court. All of the justices respect and cherish the court as an institution and its place in our government. We should recognize and honor those employees and the justices who have respected the confidentiality of the judicial process. Now to today's agenda. You may not believe this, Senator Durbin, but I want to thank you for enlisting the No Oil Producing and Exporting Cartel Acts, NOPEC. I also want to thank Senators Lee, Klobuchar, and Leahy for their co-sponsorship of the bill. NOPEC has been marked by this committee before and has always enjoyed bipartisan support. And by the way, we're dealing with a cartel, and every day, at least these on this side of the aisle, are always condemning cartels for bringing people illegally into this country. Cartels are wrong, whether it's at the southern border or it's a bunch of countries that are collusion to drive up the price of oil in this country. The Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OPEC, is a collection of countries that operate a cartel controlling the price and production of oil worldwide. It's not only the negative impact in America, it's the negative impact on the price everywhere. And while we in the United States of America are thinking about how our style of life has improved in the last 150 years because of fossil fuels, what that's done for us, we got to remember that 3.5 million people around this world are in poverty. They want the same life that we have, and they're not going to get it with windmills and solar energy just around the corner, like it might be in the United States. We got to be thinking about the helping the people that want to live like America lives. With its partner countries, Russia, OPEC controls 70% of all petroleum traded internationally and 80% of all oil reserves. The anti-competitive conduct of OPEC and its partners to manipulate oil prices directly harms American consumers. NOPEC would allow the Department of Justice to hold OPEC and its partners accountable for their anti-competitive activity. Importantly, the legislation only allows the Department of Justice to bring suit against OPEC and its members. It gives the Attorney General another tool in the toolbox to go after antitrust violators while still allowing the administration to weigh foreign policy implications. Americans are feeling the pain at the pump with record high gas prices, while Russia, Venezuela, Iran, and other hostile countries are benefiting. NOPEC is a bill that will help our government enforce the antitrust laws against these countries. Let me remind my colleagues that President Trump supported NOPEC, as did President Biden when he was in the Senate. So I urge my colleagues to join me in that. I also want to thank the chairman for listing the Justice and Mental Health Collaboration Reauthorization Act, which I co-sponsored, encouraging treatment and supporting those in mental health challenges in criminal justice system is critical to improving the outcomes and protecting